I'm Dr. J. Nathan Higdon. If this is your first time joining, you'll see that I take an academic article and I discuss how it can be practical and relevant to the business world, which I refer to as pracademics. And if you've been with me before, then welcome back. Today's article is Kearney et al. It's a 2019 in the Consumption, Markets, and Culture Journal, titled Superdisabilities versus Disabilities, Theorizing the Role of Ableism and Misrepresentational Mythology of Disability in the Marketplace. The sample is People with Disabilities, PWD, representations in advertising on BBC4 through ads that were focused around the Rio 2016 Paralympic Games. 20% of the worldwide population identifies as having a disability, and that represents one of the largest minority groups in the world. Representation in the marketplace has become more recognized and inclusive. However, the misrepresentation has really shaped the discourse. Advertising is a really subjective social space, and if you look at it, there are 4 ways to look at advertising. There's the faceism, that's your male versus female, your old versus young, your thin versus heavyset. Then second would be idealization, and that would be ideal body types, ideal body image, ideal lifestyle, ideal situations of living, etc. 3 would be the exoticization, which is the visual appearance or skin color or dress, accent, you name it. Anything that's unusual or strange and really stands out. So think about someone who might be dark complected but have very fair eyes. Number 4 would be exclusion and omission. And these tend to be those things that are excluded and omitted, such as poverty, ethnicity and racism, and many of the isms that we'll come back and talk about in a minute. So while identifying the potential of this misrepresentation is important, there has been little focus on, in marketing specifically, there's been little focus on unpacking, critiquing, and addressing the causal underpinnings of marketing as the way it is. This kind of focuses on a hero myth, which we'll come back to and talk about in a few minutes. And this perpetuates ableism, which is the notion of normalcy and the resulting power relationships of normative values. A background for those who might not know what normative values or normalcy would be, that's this established criteria for what is normal. And in all situations, we all understand what the norm is. And so it comes back to all those relevant isms when we're discussing disabilities, etc. And all of the isms would be race, class, gender, age, disability, sexual orientation. You can keep naming them and they keep going on and on. And while marketing and advertising have focused on becoming more inclusive, still yet misrepresenting minority groups has increased because people with disability marketing has focused on white, male, attractive, younger, and athletic wheelchair-bound individuals as the exception to show diversity. And this focus is an unfair, biased, and unrealistic image of the majority of people with disabilities. Yet it is the majority of advertising and marketing campaigns that we experience. So you're thinking, well, what can you do about this? Well, if GM, General Motors, were to show a car being modified for a person who is paraplegic, for example, if Burger King showed a deaf employee interacting with a consumer within their store somehow, or if a company showed how they have integrated veterans or folks with service animals and people with PTSD into their company, then it would make people with disabilities not be so othered in the marketing that we all see. And when we acknowledge race, class, gender, age, sexual orientation, and anything that's considered a disability, just to name a few, then we can humanize the intersectionality of real people. And for companies, these connections, as they're building their social media and marketing campaigns, consumers can then become a part of the story that develops with these deep connections with brands and this resulting brand ownership and this psychological ownership with the company, kind of like the way you build it with a sports team. And then marketing departments absolutely must hire diversity and inclusion consultants to point the company's marketing and their advertising strategies and campaigns to be more inclusive of real world consumers. And so, as always, the what? Well, people with disabilities are one of the largest minority groups at 20% worldwide. And people with disabilities are often othered and or idealized in marketing. So who? Well, the who in this is all companies who participate in marketing, and that's all companies. And realizing that people with disabilities are not this big monolithic minority group. They're 20% of the population, but they're different. And where? Well, this is all marketing in all forms, from traditional TV and print, which is one way, to especially digital media, which has a two-way consumer relationship that is necessary to be fostered. And then why? Well, obviously, why this is important is marketing has a phenomenal power and ability to bring people together when it is inclusive and it is done well. Because it can humanize people and develop real narratives for those people and the products or services that companies provide. So, as always, the link to the article will be below, and feel free to leave any comments or feedback and tune in next time. Thanks for joining.